It was a sunny day in July when the body of a teenage girl was discovered in Cedar Ridge Cemetery in Blairstown Township, New Jersey. It was the year 1982, and the case quickly became a baffling mystery for the authorities. The girl's face had been bludgeoned beyond recognition, and despite numerous attempts to identify her, she remained unknown for decades. Hello and welcome to Dark Secrets, your channel dedicated to exploring some of the most fascinating and haunting crimes in American history. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Fast forward 40 years, and the case remained unsolved, leaving a haunting shadow over the town. The community wondered who the girl was, and what kind of person could have committed such a heinous crime. That is until a breakthrough in DNA technology and genealogy brought the case back to life. A match was found, and the victim was finally identified as Dawn Olanick, a teenage girl from Bohemia, New York, who had disappeared months before the discovery of her body. The revelation brought some closure to the case, but the questions remained. Who was responsible for the murder of Dawn Olanick? Was it someone from the town, a stranger passing through, or someone with a grudge against the victim? Dawn Olanick was a young girl who grew up in Bohemia, New York. She was described by those who knew her as a kind and outgoing person, with a bright future ahead of her. Unfortunately, that future was cut short when she disappeared in the summer of 1982. Her family searched for her frantically, putting up posters and enlisting the help of the authorities, but no trace of her was found. It wasn't until weeks later, on a routine patrol of Cedar Ridge Cemetery in Blairstown Township, New Jersey, that a grim discovery was made. The body of a teenage girl, with her face bludgeoned beyond recognition, was found lying among the tombstones. The discovery of the body in Cedar Ridge Cemetery in Blairstown Township, New Jersey, was a gruesome and unsettling sight. The victim's face had been bludgeoned beyond recognition, making it impossible to identify her or even determine her age. Forensic investigators were called in to try to piece together the clues, hoping to shed some light on the identity of the victim and her killer. It was a daunting task, but they were determined to do everything in their power to bring justice to the victim and her family. Using the latest forensic techniques and cutting-edge technology, the investigators were able to conduct a detailed analysis of the remains. They examined the bones, teeth, and other physical features, trying to determine the victim's age, gender, and other characteristics. One of the most important breakthroughs in the investigation came when a forensic artist was brought in to reconstruct the victim's face. Using photographs of the victim's skull and other features, the artist painstakingly sculpted a three-dimensional model of the victim's face, using clay and other materials. The process was time-consuming and delicate, requiring an eye for detail and a steady hand. But in the end, the efforts paid off. The resulting model was a remarkable likeness of the victim, providing investigators with an important clue in their search for answers. Over the years, the forensic analysis and reconstruction of the victim's face continued to evolve, with new techniques and technology being developed to help investigators in their quest for justice. And finally, after decades of hard work and persistence, the case was solved, and the victim was identified as Dawn Olanick. The murder of Dawn Olanick was a tragic and senseless crime that shocked the local community and captured the attention of the nation. As news of the case spread, authorities launched a series of public appeals and media campaigns, hoping to generate leads and bring the killer to justice. The composite sketch of the victim's face was shown, hoping that someone would recognize her and come forward with information. The image was circulated widely, appearing in newspapers, on television, and on billboards throughout the region. As the investigation continued, media coverage of the case intensified. Local reporters and national news outlets alike covered every development in the case, from the initial discovery of the body to the latest forensic breakthroughs. The public responded to these appeals with a flood of tips and information, some of which proved crucial in advancing the investigation. As the case continued to capture national attention, public interest in the case never waned, with countless people tuning in to follow the twists and turns of the investigation. Over the years, police had identified several persons of interest in the case of Dawn Olanick's murder. These individuals were either connected to the victim or had been present in the area at the time of her death. One of the first individuals police identified was a man named Dennis Bowman. Bowman had lived near the cemetery where Dawn's body was found and had a history of violence towards women. He was also known to have been in the area on the day that Dawn was murdered. Another person of interest was a man named Harold J. Smith. Smith had been linked to a series of murders of young women in New Jersey and Pennsylvania during the early 1980s. He was known to have been in the area around the time of Dawn's murder, and his modus operandi closely matched that of the killer. Other persons of interest included individuals who had been romantically involved with Dawn or had connections to her family. These individuals were thoroughly investigated, but no concrete evidence was ever found linking them to the crime. The murder of Dawn Olanick was a heinous and senseless crime, and over the years, investigators have put forth several theories about why someone would commit such a brutal act. One of the most widely believed theories is that Dawn was the victim of a serial killer. At the time of her murder, several other young women had been killed in the area, and the crimes had similar characteristics. It was believed that a single individual may have been responsible for all of the murders. Another theory was that Dawn was killed by someone she knew. There were reports that Dawn had been involved in drug use and prostitution, and it was believed that someone within her circle of acquaintances may have been responsible for her death. Yet another theory was that Dawn was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some investigators believed that the killer may have been targeting another victim and killed Dawn by mistake. Anne Marie Latimer was a crucial witness in the Princess Doe case. She had reported seeing a girl wearing the same clothing as the victim, just 2 days before her body was found. Anne Marie was shopping with her daughter at a supermarket across from the cemetery and had observed and was able to describe the victim's unique clothing. The shirt and skirt themselves were traced to a manufacturer in the Midwestern United States, although the brand labels were missing. Further investigations revealed that 3 people had bought similar clothes at a Long Island store, which is now closed. It is unknown if the store was specifically located in Long Island or possibly in other locations. In 2012, a composite of the victim was released, generating new tips as it resembled several missing girls from the country. The investigation into Princess Doe's identity continued for decades, with many theories and possible motives for the murder being put forward. One theory was that Princess Doe may have been a runaway and could have been using false names while employed at a hotel in Ocean City, Maryland. In 2012, a sample of her hair and a tooth were examined through isotope analysis, indicating that the victim was most likely born in the United States. The sample of her hair indicated that she had lived at least 7 to 10 months in the Midwestern or Northeastern United States. The tooth sample indicated she could possibly be from Arizona. It is also believed that the girl had spent a long period of time in Long Island, New York. Despite the extensive investigations, the identity of Princess Doe remained unknown for over 40 years. In November 2020, her body was re-exhumed using a grant, and DNA extraction for genetic genealogy was carried out. The hopes are high that modern technology will finally be able to provide answers to the mystery of Princess Doe's identity and bring her killer to justice. However, that has not happened yet. Thank you for watching this video. We would like to read your own speculations in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.